Hello everyone, my name is Vikas, and in this session we will talk about what is the difference between database and the blockchain. So if you are starting with a blockchain and if you are new to the blockchain, the very first question comes to your mind: what is the difference between database and blockchain? Although both are used at very high level to store the information only, so what could be the difference between these two, and why there is so much hype around the blockchain? How it is different from a database that makes it unique and very useful and future for all of us. So let's talk about that in this session. Let's try to understand the difference at very high level. We're not going to go in the depth about blockchain in this session. This is very first session which will talk about only the difference between these two, database and the blockchain. So in this session we will talk about this table which we have in the blog as well. So this is a link in case you want to go through this blog post. This is tutorialstudy.com, difference between blockchain and database. This talk about the difference between these two in the detail. So the main highlight here is this table which I'm just showing you in this video. So the very first difference which we have between database and blockchain. So before you go, as I just mentioned before, these two technologies, database or blockchain, are used to store the information. Whatever transactions we do, that gets stored to these two things, database and blockchain. This is at very high level. But once you go in depth, this is some differences which we'll not talk about. But at very high level for us, this is all same because they are storing the transactional information, which we need at a later stages. So now, the database is a centralized storage where we have one administrator. So think about that. You have a database where you have a centralized administrator who controls this database, who manages the database. So all the information is centralized. So suppose you have multiple users across the globe. Many users are in States, many users are in Europe, there are people in Middle East, there are people in the India. So, but your database is lying on a central location. So suppose in the States, you have kept your one database in a states that is being accessed by all the people across the globe. That means you are storing the information to a centralized location and a centralized database that become a centralized storage. But in term of blockchain, this is decentralized. What the decentralized means, this is not only one computer. So if I take an example of Bitcoin has around 30,000 computers connected, and Ethereum has around 16,000 computers connected. So here in database, we're talking about at high level at one computer which store the information. Here we're talking about 30,000 or 16,000 computers. So that means it's a peer-to-peer network where multiple computers connect with each other and make a network. So out of 30,000, maybe thousands are in China, 10,000 are in India, maybe 1 lakh or maybe 500 in States or 1,000 in Europe and so on, right? So this is a distributed, basically decentralized and distributed storage. So this is a major difference which we have between these two. And one more thing here, whatever information is stored in a blockchain, it is replicated on each system, on each node. In database, it is stored on a central location. So here the information is replicated. So if we have a 30,000 node, same information will be there on all 30,000 nodes instead of storing on a one node only. So this is a major difference we have between database and blockchain. And second difference is that in a database, as per your access, as per your user access, you can perform delete operation where you can delete the record from a table, from a database. You can update the existing records. You can insert the new records, or you can select the record, which is a query operation. So in database at very high level, majorly 4 operations are supported, which is delete, insert, update, and query. But this is not true in case of blockchain. So blockchain is only append. It is the one of the feature of blockchain is a append only. That means you can only append the information. You will not be able to delete or update any existing information in a blockchain. Okay, so only two operations which you can perform: you can append the information or you can query the information. You don't have the option to do a delete and update in case of blockchain. So that is, again, some people say this is a feature, some people say this is the constraint. But based upon your use case, if you're talking about a use case where you have to permanently store your information on a peer-to-peer network, which will be useful for you going forward in the future, that blockchain is the best solution for you, best option for you. Because once you write the record, you will not be able to change. That is the third point. So remember that one, blockchain is only append and query operations which we can do. And third point is that in database, as I just mentioned, the second point, if you want to add information, you can go at later point of time, you can change that information based on your access. If you have access, you can go to the table, database table, you can change the details. Okay, since it is centralized storage, you have the access, you can go and change the information, which is kind of which we see every day, which we see you have to trust someone. So what it comes out to be that once you're storing information on a central location and someone has access to that one to change your information, so that means you are trusting other party. So suppose I'm storing my information to the database, so I have to trust that company which is hosting the database, that they will not share my information with other people, or they will not change my information, right? Because they people have the access to change my information. The data is being stored in a database at later point of time because they have the access. But in blockchain, this is not feasible because, as I just mentioned, the second point, it is append only. Once you write data to a blockchain, you will not be able to change. Change means that it is delete or update. You will not be able to delete or update any information which is written already in the blockchain. This is one of the most prominent good feature which we have in a blockchain, which is making it in a future. This is the reason blockchain will be used going forward for all kind of day-to-day work which we have right now. Okay, so next point is database is not highly available because it is a centralized location. So in case your system goes down, your database will be down because this is central location. But in case of blockchain, since this is a peer-to-peer network, here, as I just mentioned before, there are 30,000 nodes that are linked, connected with each other, right? So in case your one node goes down or 10 node goes down, that it will not have any impact. Because, so suppose you have around 30,000 nodes for a Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin blockchain. So if one reason goes down, so suppose China shut down due to some reason, it will still not impact your network because you have other node running in India, in Europe, in States and other locations. But that is not the case with database, because if you're storing in a centralized location, if that location goes down due to some reason, you're all gone, right? So this is the feature which we have in a blockchain which will not get in the database. And next thing is that data is not secure. So whosoever has access to database, they can change, they can access the information, they can misuse it also. Because it is mainly, there are some scenarios where it is not, there is secure, but in major scenarios, this is not secure. This is stored in a plain text format. You can go and read the information, but that is not applicable in case of blockchain. So in the blockchain, so data stored in a blockchain is very much secured. So since the blockchain can be a public blockchain like the Bitcoin and Ethereum, and there are many people across the globe accessing the information, because in a public blockchain, anyone can join the blockchain and can access the information. So suppose I have my account on a Bitcoin Ethereum blockchain or Ethereum blockchain. I have some account, I have some Bitcoin or Ethereum in my account. So I don't want to expose my identity. So what the people do, they always secure your identity. They will not show your name in a plain text format. they will give you some key, which is public and private keys, which you use to access your identity, and no one will be able to access your identity because they don't see your picture, they don't see your name and other information. So the data is very much secure in blockchain with the help of the algorithms which we use. This is applicable for all type of blockchain, whether it's a public or private blockchain. And the next point is that data is stored without any consensus. So anyone who has access can add the information, can delete the information, and insert the information. So this is mainly for insert operation where you want to add the new information. So anyone can go and add that information, but in blockchain that is not feasible. So in term of public blockchain, all the 30,000 nodes need to come to one point that okay, if I say you one equation 1 plus 1, so everyone has to agree that 1 plus 1 is 2. That is, they all reach to consensus that okay, 1 plus 1 is 2. Then that information will get added to blockchain. If out of 30,000, about 16,000 say okay, this is not correct, 1 to 1 is not 2, then that detail will not be get added, right? So at least 51% people has to agree upon, and they have to reach to consensus, then only your information will get added to a blockchain. So this is a difference we have between database and blockchain. And the last difference is that database, in term of database, data is stored in some databases in the flat file, in the heap file, and other formats. But in a blockchain, the data is stored in form of block. So you store few transactions in one block. Then what you do, you link that blocks. So blockchain, if you see the word blockchain is nothing, a combination of two words, block and chain. So what happens in the blockchain, you put the information like I am putting 100 transactions data to one block. Then in next block I put like 150 transactions. So what happened that then that blocks are connected with each other. That makes the chain of the blocks, and that make it immutable. So this is how the data being stored in a blockchain. So this is the major difference we have between database and blockchain. Hope you like this video and you have got some idea about the difference. Thanks for watching.